out of the community colleges that are here in San Diego, Mesa is probably the strongest for music. It has its own dedicated program with teachers who teach you, and you get your private instructors, and you have a bunch of musicians who mingle with each other and talk to each other in a way that other community colleges don't. So if you're watching this and you're deciding where to go, Mesa has the best music program, I guarantee it. I think up at this point I know like 13, 14, 15 notes off the top of my head. And I use them every day. So every chord is built off of a scale, and every scale is built off of a chord. So understand the music you're playing. What you really got to know is that modes are meant for you so you can understand what you're singing, what you're hearing. And also, everything that all these great players are playing are built off of these modes. So there's nothing that you practice that you won't see. There are so many modes. It sometimes feels impossible to learn so many, but the truth is it's hard work, but it does get easier. My first semester at Mesa with Miss Lee, I could only get Lydian dominant and minor blues down, and that was it. That took my whole soul, my whole heart, my whole body just to get those two down. But by the end of my time with her, the work just kind of just added on and built off of each other, and you'll realize that it's actually a lot easier than you believe. Not at first though, don't give up. Composed solos are something that should be done at every level because they're a good representation of where you are in progress. When you first start doing your composed solo, you're going to find it's probably the hardest thing you can do. Before you start, you're thinking of all these crazy lines you're going to do, but when it comes time to write them, you'll figure out you don't know anything. And it's a good eye-opener to anybody who thinks highly of themselves at this time. And then as you progress, you'll start to notice that these things start to become easier. You start to think of lines and vocabulary and rhythms that you normally wouldn't have thought of in the past. And eventually, you'll get to the point where you can compose a solo that actually sounds legit. And you will be proud of yourself because you know that was all your work. Do your composed solos. If you're going to music school, you're going to have to take your placement test. And depending on what school you go to and what major you do, you're going to have to take different ones. In my case, I went to SDSU. If you're going to be a jazz major, you have to take 4. An ear training test, a theory test, a jazz test, and a piano test. And so, when you're going to take your theory test, the main things you have to practice is part writing. Theory 2 is probably the most essential class for you to study for that. Because it's probably the most demanding and the most nitpicky of the sections you have to take. For the jazz testing, you have to study your 7th chords, your 9th chords, your 13th chords, your 2-5-1s and SATB format, and you have to have a little bit of ear training because you have to do a dictation test for just one line over 2-5-1. As far as the piano test goes, you have to learn your major scale, your melodic minor, your harmonic minor, natural minor. And you have to be good enough to sight read and transpose whatever you sight read on the spot, whether it's 1 voices, 2 voices, 3 or 4. And for the ear training test, they'll give you a couple rhythms to read, and you'll have your dictation. But if you're a jazz major, I just recommend taking it from the very beginning because the ear training, even though it's ear training 1, it will feel like ear training 5 if you've been to Mesa.